My thought is that the disconnect really is that the alert and warning function is not tightly integrated into overall emergency management yet at the SEMS level and the NIMS level.
That's an excellent point.
And that I've spoken to EM groups, and here's the question I asked them. I said, at any point in a given emergency that you're working, is there something you'd like the public to do or not do? You know, and I asked for show of hands, and all the hands go up. And basically I said, now, how many people would like to have a way that you could communicate that to the public? And, you know, most of the hands go up, some of them don't. But some of the disconnect of the hands that don't go up are the fact that a lot of the people that are involved in the alert and warning are public information officers whose day-to-day job is to actually control information and limit its access, the access to the information to the public. I can remember back in the Northridge earthquake, Scott, I don't know if Scott ever heard me say this or not, but I went up to the EOC after I checked out my station in Los Angeles, went up to the LA County EOC, and basically what I saw is the sheriff's PIO people sitting around waiting for the phones to ring. And that got me thinking, and we started to do some work to try to change that. It hasn't really been changed all that much, but the sea change I'd like to see is to see us get into NIMS at a level where that alert and warning is part of the initial decision-making process when an emergency is evaluated. If that could happen, and I see George nodding up and down for the people on the phone.
Yeah, you can't see the head movement.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's absolutely right. Here in Nevada, and thanks in very large part to the EAS committee here, we've got a much tighter integration. The state plan, the state communications plan, talks about broadcasters, talks about integrating with alert and warning providers. And you're absolutely right, there's a sea change that needs to happen from agencies that are devoted to controlling information to working with people who are devoted to expanding information. So that's a different one.
Yeah, but if it gets into NIMS now, does everyone know what NIMS is? National Incident Management System, NIMS. It was stolen from California where we had something called SEMS, which was the same thing. And basically it is really a set of training modules and protocols, and the carrot that FEMA holds out to people that comply with NIMS is that you are more likely to get reimbursed for emergencies if you take tests and are in compliance with the National Incident Management System.
And say, reach out to your emergency managers, make sure that they know who you are, yeah. And be a resource. Yeah. That's the number one thing, be a resource that they can put into that NIMS schema.
Okay, we're coming up to 5 o'clock. Anybody have any, Bill Ruck, our resident curmudgeon. Come on up. Bill.
Oh, somebody gets microphone.
Yeah, okay. Bill is limping up to the microphone.
I aspire to be a curmudgeon.
Doing play-by-play.
It takes a lot of practice. My perspective has changed a lot over the years, and one of the things lately I've been mostly working in Part 90, land mobile communication, mostly public safety communications. I don't do much broadcasting these days. But when I talk to Sheriff's Office and other people and everything else, I go, huh? And clearly, when you explain why and how, they go, oh, that's really interesting, but huh? So one of the things that I'm very strong believer in is that there are engineering problems, there are political problems, never confuse them. So here we are at an engineering kind of meeting, and we're talking about political problems. We need to address it at that level. I mean, the fact that maybe CAP could be improved, and maybe this could be improved, and maybe all of these technical stuff could be wonderful. I am totally in agreement with that. But one area that was very interesting, how many people are members of APCO? How many people have ever heard of APCO? Very much like the Society of Broadcast Engineers, there's an APCO chapter in almost every major area. I go to APCO meetings because I'm representing clients and doing frequency coordination and everything else, but by being a part of the emergency communications fraternity, so to speak, I've had a number of people come to me and say, Bill, what is this iPause thing? And Bill, what is CAP? And I actually did a presentation a couple of years ago about CAP and got just amazing responses, including one dispatcher saying, meaning I have to train my people on how to do that? Who's going to pay for that? So there is another whole perspective here that we don't understand as broadcasters. And one of the things that I would like to see and suggest to everybody, if you want to try to improve local, I mean, the state is wonderful and we got the feds. You want to get involved in local is find out where the local APCO chapter is. Become I'm an associate member because I'm not working in a police department, but and start talking to those people, and they're the ones that want to know about it. They don't know much about it, and they're the ones that will initiate it from the origination end. I think we've got the sending to the broadcasting world sort of covered. It could be improved. The main thing right now is all disasters are local. And so one of my clients is Santa Cruz County that was all concerned because they have no EAS station. They gave it up a long time ago. They have nothing, and they had a little tsunami after Japan that wiped out the harbor and everything else. And the sheriff said, what are we going to do about that? And I said, well, you've got a political problem. I'll be glad to help you. And there's ongoing discussion there. I talked with Marin County, which is also a similar kind of thing. And they have a really sharp guy in the emergency management world. And it's just one of his 500 things he's got to do with no staff is try to develop a program to do that in those counties. So I think it's really important that we need to stop arguing about whether this or that technical stuff should be better or whatever. It could be. The important thing would be for us to get out of our little broadcast world and get into the other side and get in the emergency community, find out where the APCO, there's a national website, you can find out where your local APCO people are, and get involved at that end and help them, help us, and help basically the people, the community we live in, have a better thing. So that's my suggestion to everybody here is we can whine about whether or not FEMA's doing a good job. We need to get the local people involved, and a good social group to get involved with is APCO.
Very good. The other thing we can do is take the NIMS training courses on iPause Open ourselves. How many people have done that in this room? Very good. We have a little bit of a show of hands here, and I know I think that would help because I've always found it easier to talk to the EM community after learning from them about what their job really is and how they approach it. And as living in Los Angeles area, I really do say with a lot of pride that I've had a chance to learn from the best. I haven't had any recent emergencies, but back when we were having them rather frequently, those people taught me a lot. I want to hear let's go through the vendors in the audience. We'll start at the back of the room. Jim, you have anything you want to say?
No, I don't. I got to take my wife, and I'm late.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Harold, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Just that the iPod thing's working pretty well now. Since June, iPods has got the weekly testing fixed up well in January, really, and it's running pretty well. So you've got no excuse to have warnings on your log saying you haven't received an alert from CAP in 67 days to get that fixed up. The other thing is now ready to be discussed. The FCC doesn't have anything on it yet, but the multilingual stuff. If you've got Spanish stations in town, the vendors are supporting Spanish now. We're in the WorldCast booth this year. Stop by, hear some Spanish. I suspect guys on the other side of the room have some Spanish as well. There are no rules for how to handle that, for how to handle multiple languages in a single event. Do you put English and Spanish or Spanish and English inside the same set of racks, or do you run two separate alerts? The technical community is a little ahead of the legal community again on that issue. Stuff's coming up there.
I have a quick question for you on that one. Spanish, for example, there's a California Spanish, if you will, there's middle of the country Spanish, and there's Cuban Spanish. And you've got so many dialects and different terms.
Oh, yeah.
How do you handle that?
We do support a couple of different languages of Spanish.
Because I know that...
There's 5 different ones, but local dialects, we don't speak y'all English either.
Wait a second. Throw that box
out.
out.
Upper Ohio Valley dialect, y'all go downtown and rent up your room and all those.
Because our operations of Univision, their television operations are in Florida and
Right.
Phoenix and on the West Coast. And they produce programs with different Spanish depending on where they're broadcasting it.
Absolutely.
And then we take the EAS programs, they receive them, translate them to Spanish, and then send them out to the Spanish people in the Phoenix community.
Well, that is always going to be the preferred way to do it. CAP has the ability to tag an info block to say the contents of this block are in such and such a language. Now, you can also attach audio. So the best thing to do is to get a local speaker in the local dialect to pronounce things as the locals would want. That has its own set of problems, but you can get pitch-perfect information by having somebody record the audio attached to the CAP block. If you don't have that, then you're left with machine text-to-speech. And that is going to be like the United States used to be. If you watch the news, you heard Midwestern. You heard Walter Cronkite, that's when he talked. You heard Midwestern, one dialect of English on national network news. The same thing is likely to be. There'll be one or two mostly dialects of Spanish that the text-to-speech boxes are going to do, and it's a whole lot closer to what your Spanish listening audience is expecting than the English is.
True.
So they're going to have to make certain allowances for not a local dialect, but it will be serving them a lot better than they're being served now, which is primarily in English. The trick is, however, these devices aren't going to do machine language translation. They're not going to take English text and translate it to bad Spanish, inserting tab B slot-wise now preferably. I think that's always a bad idea for emergencies. We've got to get the right information in the right order, the red ball, not the ball red, and you got to get it out quick. Machines aren't going to be good at that, but if you've got source text in the target language, then you can do text-to-speech with it and have it come out better than not having it at all.
We're going to have Harold's presentation translated in Spanish after the meeting.
Well, do it in English first.
Las Vegas Spanish.
Does our road team have anything to offer at this point?
Actually, a number of things that we found is, obviously, I think most of the community understands the concern of security. If we can further reinforce that everybody should do the proper things to secure these devices as you're required, they have to be hooked up to the internet, please do what's necessary to properly protect them. Put them behind a firewall, change the default passwords. We cannot be any more, as a group and a community to try to prevent all the work that we've done to show that we've got a good system, letting nefarious entities enter into these things because you left the key in the door and the door was open type of thing doesn't do us a lot of good. So if anything, we could just continue to reinforce the fact that security and the way that these things should be secured is going to be an important consideration.
Okay, wanted to ask, do we have anybody left on the conference bridge?
Yeah, Clay still here. Yeah,
Okay, very good. Do anybody out in the field have any comments about what went on while we still have the conference bridge?
very hard to understand anybody.
Okay, well, that's all right. Your audio is actually pretty good. It's better than some of the weather service audio. But I'm sorry.
Your audio's fine, Richard.
Yeah.
It's the speakers who take time to go to the podium who can't hear.
Okay, got it. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I think if we can get the NAB to give us a room sooner, we can do this a lot better next year. We will try to do that. Hopefully we'll have new problems to talk about. But, we'll take it. I'd like to actually acknowledge a couple of people. First, I want to thank Mary Michigan, who's been hosting the Broadcast Morning Working Group's EAS Forum and has worked with us on the core committee to try to make this this is a viable way to be able to learn from each other as far as the listserv is concerned. So thank you, Mary. Now we have our hands warmed up. I want to acknowledge and congratulate Leonard Charles on his award from NAB that he's going to receive on Wednesday, because he's one of the early toilers in the EAS vineyards as well, along with us. So thank you, Leonard, for your contributions. Thank you.
And thanks to our federal partners out in DC that stayed up till after 9 p.m. Eastern or Sunday night. No, really. I mean, you guys are showing the dedication.
Yes.
It's really appreciated.
I'm hoping that hopefully next year we can have you here in person, along with the rest of the partners. Anyway, is any, we can stay around and talk in the room a little bit, but I don't know, I sense that everybody wants to get on to their next events, dinner or whatever, so I think we're going to wrap it up unless anybody has any closing comments. I guess everybody wants to wrap it up.